Welcome back to part 2 of our deep dive into the dark ascent of Adolf Hitler. Germany after World War I was a nation in turmoil. The country was deeply scarred by the war's devastation. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, imposed harsh penalties on Germany. It blamed Germany for the war. It forced Germany to pay heavy reparations and cede territory. The German people were humiliated. They felt betrayed by their leaders. The economy was in shambles, with hyperinflation crippling the nation. People struggled to afford basic necessities. Amid this chaos and despair, extremist ideologies began to take root. Political instability was rampant. Numerous small parties emerged, each vying for power. Among these was the German Workers' Party, a small, obscure group with little influence. It was in this environment of anger, resentment, and desperation that a charismatic and ruthless figure named Adolf Hitler would rise to prominence. Hitler, a decorated veteran of World War I, was deeply affected by Germany's defeat. He returned from the war a bitter and disillusioned man. He despised the Weimar Republic, the new democratic government established in Germany after the war. He saw it as weak and incapable of restoring Germany to its former glory. Hitler's fierce nationalism and his talent for oratory found fertile ground in the bitterness and anger of many Germans. Welcome to the Dark Ascent, Hitler's Early Years in Politics, Part 2. This chapter delves into Hitler's involvement with the German Workers' Party and his early political activities. I don't think people understand the significance of Hitler's early political maneuvers. In 1919, Hitler joined the German Workers' Party, also known as the DAP. He was tasked with improving the party's propaganda. This small, insignificant group would become the platform for his rise to power. The DAP, like other right-wing groups, promoted German nationalism. It espoused anti-Semitism. It capitalized on the widespread discontent among the German population. Hitler's early speeches, delivered in beer halls and meeting halls across Munich, were characterized by their emotional intensity and their appeal to the baser instincts of his audience. Hitler quickly rose through the ranks of the DAP. His fiery speeches, filled with nationalistic rhetoric and promises of a return to greatness, resonated with the disillusioned masses. He possessed an uncanny ability to tap into the anxieties and frustrations of the German people. He offered them scapegoats for their suffering, blaming Jews, communists, and the democratic government for Germany's downfall. Recognizing the power of propaganda, Hitler transformed the DAP into the National Socialist German Workers' Party, commonly known as the Nazi Party. He understood the importance of symbols and spectacle in captivating the masses. Under his leadership, the Nazi Party adopted the swastika as its emblem. Its members donned brown shirts, often worn with military-style belts and boots. These visual cues, combined with carefully orchestrated rallies and marches, projected an image of strength, discipline, and a break from the perceived weakness of the Weimar Republic. Hitler's early political activities centered on spreading the Nazi message. The Nazi Party grew rapidly, fueled by the economic crisis and social unrest. He organized rallies, he gave speeches, he used newspapers and pamphlets to disseminate Nazi propaganda. His speeches were often inflammatory. They were filled with hatred and intolerance. He targeted Jews, communists, and other groups he deemed enemies of the German people. Hitler's charisma and his ability to connect with the masses on an emotional level were instrumental in his early success. He was a master of propaganda. He understood the power of words and images to sway public opinion. Nazi propaganda, disseminated through posters, pamphlets, and films, presented a distorted view of reality. It portrayed Hitler as a savior, a messianic figure who could restore Germany to its former glory. This propaganda resonated with a population desperate for hope and change. The Nazis promised economic recovery, national unity, and a return to traditional values. They appealed to the anxieties of the middle class, who feared losing their status in the face of economic hardship. The Nazis also attracted disaffected youth, offering them a sense of belonging and purpose. Emboldened by his growing popularity, Hitler attempted to seize power in 1923. The Beer Hall Putsch, as it became known, was a poorly planned and ultimately unsuccessful coup attempt. Hitler and his followers stormed a meeting of Bavarian government leaders in a Munich beer hall. They attempted to force them to support their cause. The putsch failed when the Bavarian government refused to cooperate. The putsch resulted in violence and bloodshed. Police confronted the Nazis, and several people were killed. Hitler was arrested and charged with treason. The trial gave him a national platform to spread his message of nationalism and anti-Semitism. During his trial, Hitler skillfully presented himself as a patriot. He claimed he was acting in the best interests of Germany. Though the putsch was a failure, it served as a turning point in Hitler's political career. It brought him national attention. It made him a martyr to the growing Nazi movement. Section 5, writing Mein Kampf, the blueprint of Nazi ideology. Hitler was sentenced to 5 years in prison for his role in the beer hall putsch, yet he served only 9 months. During this brief incarceration, he penned his autobiography Mein Kampf, or My Struggle, which outlined his political ideology and detailed his plans for Germany. Mein Kampf quickly became the blueprint for the Nazi movement. In this book, Hitler articulated his deeply held beliefs in racial purity, German nationalism, and the need for Lebensraum, or living space, for the German people. He argued that the Aryan race was superior to all others and blamed Jews for Germany's problems, calling for the expansion of German territory to the east and envisioning a vast German empire stretching across Eastern Europe. Despite being poorly written and filled with rambling diatribes, Mein Kampf provided a chilling glimpse into Hitler's twisted worldview. Outlining his future intentions, including overturning the Treaty of Versailles, expanding German territory, and creating a racially pure German state. The book, disturbingly, became a bestseller in Germany, spreading Hitler's dangerous ideology to a wider audience. Section 6, Hitler's release and the rise of the Nazi Party. After his release from prison, Hitler rebuilt the Nazi Party, learning from the mistakes of the beer hall putsch. He realized that he needed to gain power through legal means. At the time, Germany in the late 1920s was experiencing relative stability, and the Nazi Party struggled to gain traction. However, the Great Depression of 1929 changed everything. The economic crisis hit Germany particularly hard, with millions unemployed and people losing their savings. The Weimar Republic seemed powerless to alleviate the suffering of its people, and the Nazis exploited this crisis to their advantage. Presenting themselves as the only viable alternative to the failing Weimar Republic, Hitler promised jobs, bread, and national revival. His message resonated with a desperate population, gaining support from all segments of society, from the unemployed to wealthy industrialists. Section 7. Exploiting crises for political gain. The Nazis exploited the political climate to their advantage, using violence and intimidation against their opponents, disrupting political meetings and creating a climate of fear. The Weimar Republic proved unable to stop them. The Nazis also used propaganda to great effect, controlling newspapers, radio, and film, and spreading their message of hate and intolerance. Hitler, a gifted orator, captivated audiences with his passionate speeches, promising to restore Germany to its former glory. The Nazi Party grew rapidly in the early 1930s, becoming the largest party in the German parliament by 1932. In 1933, Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany, having achieved his goal of gaining power legally. Once in power, Hitler moved swiftly to consolidate his control, banning other political parties, establishing a totalitarian state, and eliminating all opposition. Germany was now a dictatorship, and the Weimar Republic, weakened by internal divisions and economic woes, had succumbed to the Nazi Party's relentless assault. Section 8. Conclusion. The seeds of tyranny. Hitler's rise to power was a complex phenomenon, resulting from a confluence of factors. The economic and social chaos of post-World War I Germany created fertile ground for extremist ideologies. Hitler's charisma and his mastery of propaganda allowed him to exploit the anxieties and frustrations of the German people. The beer hall putsch and his subsequent imprisonment provided him with a platform and an opportunity to refine his ideology. The economic crisis of the early 1930s provided the Nazis with the opportunity to seize power. Hitler's rise to power had devastating consequences for Germany and the world, leading to the Holocaust, the systematic murder of 6 million Jews, and plunging the world into the deadliest conflict in human history. The seeds of tyranny were sown in the aftermath of World War I, nurtured by economic despair, political instability, and the rhetoric of hate. Hitler's early years in politics serve as a chilling reminder of the dangers of extremism, the seductive power of demagoguery, and the fragility of democracy in the face of fear and despair.